All right. Blah, blah, la, 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 la. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the This Movie Is podcast. I'm Emily, and I'm here with my co-host Tommy, and today we're going to be discussing how we prefer to watch movies. Cinema versus home.
Yeah, so in a previous podcast, I had mentioned how I hate going to the movies, and I thought, hey, why not do a podcast where we talk about how we prefer to watch our films, our likes, our dislikes, what have you?
Yes, while Tommy is under the weird opinion that watching movies within the tiny restraints of your home on a shit small screen is better, I appreciate the true experience of watching a movie as it is meant to be viewed in the cinema.
So first off, depending on your distance from the screen, a screen can look the same size at 30 inches as it can 100 inches. You know, it's all relative viewing distance.
What, so are you suggesting that people sit like 5 inches away from their screens?
I'm saying, theoretically speaking, if you had a small screen and you did sit really close to it, you would have the same general viewpoint, you know? For me personally, I think my TV in my main viewing room in my house is 65 inches.
Yes, but is it as big as the wall? And by wall, I mean a tall wall of a cinema screen. I think that's going to be a no.
In that particular room, it is the perfect size TV for that room. So I get a great viewing experience.
Sounds shit.
If you could look online and see what is the distance from the television, and they will tell you the exact television size you should have.
That's nice. I'm not here to talk about distance and, measurements of TV screens.
I'm saying the size of the screen is relative to the environment you're in. So yes, in a theater, the screen is huge, but you're much further away from it.
What the fuck are you on about?
Oh my God.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. I'm going to go ahead and educate you, Tommy,
Yes,
on
please do.
why we need to respect the cinema as the ultimate movie-going experience. Obviously not right now, because cinemas are breeding grounds for certain viruses. But anyway, let me tell you.
In general, though, cinemas are breeding grounds for all kinds of nasty shit.
Yeah.
Have you ever actually looked around a movie theater after the lights go on? They're not the most hygienic places.
No, they're not. But I'm also not going crawling around the floor licking shit. So
I'm just saying, so that's one in the pro column for staying at home is nice, comfortable, clean environment.
Well, depends what you're like. If you saw my bedroom, you wouldn't say it was a clean environment. Anyway, so one thing I love about going to watch a movie at the cinemas is the previews. Oh my God, how bloody good are they? As soon as you're settled, you have a few ads, not previews, and then all of a sudden the lights dim, you're like, oh shit! Give me those previews. And
you can literally, at any point, you can just go watch those previews on YouTube.
No, but it's the fact they're being given to you. Okay, I'm going to touch on this again later, but it's something to do with you having no control. They're like, look, these are the previews. You may not normally have been interested in watching a movie like this, so therefore you wouldn't be going to YouTube and looking it up. But after, however long it is, you're like, this movie might be good.
I'm usually just annoyed because I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh God, can we just get to the fucking movie already? Like, I don't feel like sitting here for a half an hour watching previews.
Well, an example of how previews are really amazing sometimes is, for example, if you're going to the cinemas to see a horror movie, the previews that you get before it are obviously also from suspenseful thriller horror movies. So it starts to G you up and just starts getting you ready for what you're going to see. You get a bit excited, you get a bit nervous, you get a bit scared, and it's just great. And I also love sort of the excitement of saying, don't open your popcorn until the movie starts. Don't fucking touch it. Don't touch it. Don't open it. Don't open your snacks yet. Just get them ready. It's exciting.
Yeah, I actually have a habit of showing up to a movie late, so I don't even have to sit through the previews. Like, if I see a movie starts at 6 o'clock, I won't actually bother going till 6:20, and then
honestly, same, but not out of choice, out of sheer disorganization. But on the odd occasion that me and my friends do make it before the previews, we're like, oh my God, we made the previews!
Yeah,
So,
that's not a selling point for me. That's just an annoyance for me.
okay, well, let me go ahead on to my next point. Movie popcorn. You just can't see a movie without the movie popcorn. And I know you can make popcorn in your microwave at home, but it's just not the same, you know?
Yeah, I'll give you that. I don't know why there is something about the movie theater popcorn that's more appealing than real life home popcorn. I don't know why. I don't know what exactly it is. I'm sure if you were a enthusiastic person who got a special popcorn making machine with the butter and everything, you could probably duplicate it. But for those normal folks of us that just have a microwave, yeah, I'll give you that one.
Oh, look at you. You're being convinced already. Okay, well, let me continue this amazing streak and move on to my next point, which is the huge, enormous screen.
We already talked
Say
about
what you
that.
want about distance and ratios. Sitting back and seeing a screen that is literally the size of the whole wall, which is a whole massive wall, is just so amazing. Getting for me, I mean, if I get to be staring at Ryan Gosling or Jake Gyllenhaal on the big screen for 2 hours, that's stunning. And particularly having the enormous screen is good when you are watching movies that are in 3D. And look, I wouldn't say everyone's obsessed with 3D movies, but as a child, or as a young person, when I saw the movie Avatar in 3D, that was lit, super lit.
Were you a child when Avatar came out?
How old was I? When did Avatar come out?
Oh
2000.
man, I don't even want to think about it.
No, I wasn't a child. I was a teenager.
I've never seen Avatar. It looks so stupid.
Oh my God.
All right, but okay, so then expanding on that point of yours, though, about the 3D, I think that's a knock against theater viewings because every movie I've ever seen in the theater, which has been 3D, has looked fucking terrible because they just always look so dark, and 3D movies just do not project well. I think they look so much better if you're watching them at home off a Blu-ray on a HD screen.
But
So,
that's not 3D.
yes, I have a
What?
3D TV.
Wait, so do you wear the glasses?
Yeah.
And does it look okay
It looks better than the theater.
in 3D?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, I have an official recommendation for you. If you can get it online, get the 3D Blu-ray Avatar
No,
because
thanks.
no, because basically all 3D movies that I've seen have been very meh. But Avatar is one movie that this is not just me being like super positive. By the way, Avatar is 82% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't care.
So, and that movie in this amazing world.
Rotten Tomatoes for the United States, folks, is to
Do you
me.
think like all Americans are so dumb that you need to like
I need to translate.
explain?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you
need,
need to translate.
I need to give the Australian to American translations.
That's such an American thing of you to do, so I'm surprised.
I put no faith in Rotten Tomatoes at all. It seems like such a fucking sham to me. I've seen it happen.
I don't think so.
I've seen it happen so much in recent years where clearly reviewers are either A, being paid off, or B, they have an agenda that they're trying to push. So,
Nah.
if anything, a low Rotten Tomato score makes me more interested to see a movie than a high Rotten Tomato score because I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just something that Disney paid off a bunch of, and Disney most certainly pays off reviewers, let me tell you.
Let me tell you. Ha ha ha. Let me tell you. Ha ha. Let me tell you, baby.
Look at all those Marvel films and their Rotten Tomato scores, and it's just like, yeah, sure thing. I don't
Not
think
all of them. And they're also making assessments on like the VFX and CGI and costuming and all that shit. That deserves points too. Anyway, moving on. Another thing that's amazing about going to the cinema is the mind-blowing crisp sound. And I know you can have these, fancy hi-fi speakers these days. I'm not sure if there's also a distance ratio standard for those. But even something as simple as a character's heavy breathing on screen is amplified in the cinemas in a way that an at-home watch just can't beat,
I disagree. I have sat through so many movies that had terrible fucking sound. I have literally gotten up in the middle of a movie, gone to management or whatever, and been like, yo, can you please increase the volume because I could barely hear the fucking movie. So,
well, that's like your cinema. That's shit. I've never had that issue.
I've had that issue happen so often. I've had theaters just have terrible fucking sound. And
In multiple states and different cinemas?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived I've lived on the East Coast. I've lived on the West Coast. I've even seen movies while traveling in other states in the middle of the country, like Texas. Yeah, I've seen a lot of movies in a lot of different areas, and I'm not blown away by the sound quality.
Well, maybe you need to come down under and go to one of our cinemas.
From the sounds of it, you have some great theaters because
Yeah,
I'm not
I think
having
so
I'm
too.
not having the same experiences that you are.
Well, okay, let me expand on that. I am generally in the cinema having a lovely experience, which I know I'll let you explain your differing experiences. But the feeling of being with others in the cinema, which for me is most often like super quiet, whether it's busy or not busy, it's generally quiet and people have respect, which is like, am I blessed for having those experiences all the time? Anyway, but the feeling of being with others in a cinema and sharing the same moment and the same emotions and knowing that most likely most people are seeing this movie for the first time and feeling these emotions for the first time is really special to me. And that also ties in on going to the cinemas is really amazing at giving you this focus because there's obviously no phones or distractions. Yeah, I know, for me. So there is, and also there's no opportunity to press pause, which I think is really important because watching media can be very passive. So I think physically going to a special place to watch a movie makes it more of an active experience that you're really, you're all in.
That must be a millennial thing because I have no problem putting down my phone for 2 hours and just watching a movie. I don't.
Oh,
It's
fuck,
not. It's
I
not
do.
something I suffer from. I can focus on a movie for 2 hours, 2.5 hours even if I have to.
Oh, I honestly couldn't. Like, I'm not saying like I want to do it, but the temptation is just too high sometimes. So that's why me personally, I really appreciate having that lovely special experience going to the cinema every time. And another point I want to make is that it is very satisfying for me. Well, it's not satisfying because like I want my money, but it's very satisfying for me to actually spend my money on art because it's obviously something that I really value and I really appreciate. So actually spending my money, even if it's a little pricey, it's a little pricey, I will say that. And I don't know why the popcorn's basically as much as the ticket, but let's not go into that for now. And speaking of tickets,
Do you honestly not know why that is? Because I could explain it to you.
well, yeah, what?
All right. This is something also that people don't understand about the box office is because people often see a movie made X amount of dollars and they think, for instance, they'll see a movie made $400 million and it'll be considered a bomb. And they'll be like, well, how is that possible? It had a budget of $200 million and it made $400 million. How is that a bomb? But what people don't realize is that the theater keeps a little bit less than half the money from the box office. So the studios are only getting a little bit more than half. So
Right.
if a movie makes 400 mil, they're only getting around 200 or so, maybe 220, 250. They arrange different deals depending on the studio. Maybe Disney can get a more favorable deal to get a higher percentage. And it also varies a lot based on the weekend. For instance, opening weekend, the studio gets a higher percentage of the box office. So that's why there's a big push to have a big opening weekend because they want the most possible money from it. The longer it's in theaters,
Right.
the higher percentage the theaters get to keep.
Oh.
So the popcorn, because the theaters then they're only getting less than half of the box office. They got to stay in business. They got to pay their employees. So the popcorn is their way of making their money that they're not getting on the movie because popcorn is a very cheap thing to make. So that's where the snacks, the soda, that's where they're making the bulk of their money, not through the tickets, but through the concessions.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair enough. I don't love it, but I feel like the popcorn's worth like triple the price of normal popcorn, to be honest. It's that good.
Without it, they probably wouldn't be able to stay in business. So the next time people complain about the price, just keep in mind, this is how they're making their money, not by selling you the movie tickets. And also, the next time you think a movie did well, remember, they're only taking in roughly half of the box office. And just because a movie has a $2 million budget doesn't mean they only spent $200 million on the movie because they also put a ton of money into marketing. There's also stuff like the prints that they have to send to all the different theaters. And the money they spend on extraneous shit can easily be as much as the budget. So a $200 million movie can easily have an additional $200 million in promotional materials and everything else. So right off the bat, now that's a $400 million investment. And in order to make that $400 million back, you need to take in around $800 million. So that's where a lot of these movies, you think they're making a lot more money than they actually are.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for educating me on that. But I'm standing by what I'm saying, that seeing a movie on the massive screen with amazing sound, sitting down, no distractions, and experiencing the joy of cinema with others is the way to go, in my humble opinion. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to This Movie Is. See you next time.
And now for those of you that want to hear the real shit. Well, I mean, I've already said a lot of the real shit. I think the sound is often bad. I think the images, even on non-3D movies, I am not impressed a lot of the time by especially in darker scenes or just overall darker films, I think it does not project well a lot of the time. And on my own home television set with a Blu-ray, I get much better image quality than I get in a theater. And again, with my home audio setup, I get much better audio quality than a theater. So I mean, I've already said some of those things. So just from a sheer quality perspective, I'm getting a better experience at home. And also, as far as pure comfort is concerned, I fucking do not like sitting in a movie theater. The seats, unless you have one of those theaters that has the big reclining chairs, those are pretty good. But those are hard to come by here, at least. I don't know many theaters that have those.
So what's the normal in a theater? We have like a nice sort of velvety, like pretty comfy seat, to be honest.
I don't know. The normal in a theater is just a shitty, I don't know, just a shitty little chair. Especially if you're a taller person, it's even worse because you have even less leg room. Same one on an airplane. If you're a taller person on an airplane, you're going to have less leg room. It's going to be more uncomfortable for you than a shorter person. So
just don't be born tall and you won't finish it.
So yeah, I am so much more comfortable just being able to sit on my couch and throw my feet up instead of having to sit in a stupid uncomfortable chair. It's not enjoyable for me. And when I go to the movie theater, I need to wear pants. And that is a big no-no for me.
I mean, I can understand that, but what about, the magic?
I feel no magic. I'm dead inside. Have you forgotten who you're talking to here? And all of that stuff I talked about isn't even getting into the worst aspect of all of the cinemas, which is the people. And boy, do I fucking hate the people that go to movies.
This would be a good time for a sound effect, like the Psycho, like the people.
You're obsessed with the sound effects.
I'm telling you, I'm going to do a poll, be like, people, to our 1.75 regular listeners, do you want sound effects? Do you not?
But yeah, fuck do the people piss me off. It's incredible how inconsiderate people are. People talking, people on their phones. I've seen chicks taking selfies in the middle of a fucking movie. I mean, I've seen it all.
Oh my God.
And the thing that really drives me insane is that I am the only person who ever says anything about it. I have never once been in a movie where somebody else told someone to shut the fuck up. And it's aggravating having the weight of that on my shoulders every time I go to a movie. That I have to be the savior to tell somebody that they're being an asshole. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. I haven't really had to do that many times, although I have done it. But I think the level of noise and the personalities of people in my hometown are perhaps a little less aggressive than that of a big city. So the most I've ever done, which has been really stressful for me, is just, a little bit of a, can you please be quiet? Thanks. And then in my head, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to fight me. They're going to get up and fight me.
The worst I ever had was the row directly behind me. It was almost an entire row of high school kids. And they were being so fucking obnoxious. And about 15 minutes into the movie, I just couldn't take it anymore. I stood up and I just started screaming at them like a crazy person. And I sat down. I got an applause from the theater, from everybody in the theater. Because everybody was thinking it, but nobody had it in them to say anything. And did I go a little bit overboard? Yes, because I was making a lot of physical threats. And
Oh my God.
realistically speaking, there was about 8 of them and 1 of me. So if they wanted to jump me after the movie, they easily could have done so. But they were probably like, this guy is fucking unhinged. And they honestly didn't make another peep for the rest of the movie. But
Well, that's good. There you go. That's a successful outcome.
it is, but it's like, why did it have to come to that? You know what I mean?
That sounds awful, but let me ask you, if you could remove the people, or no, I take that back. If you could make it so that people had to do the right thing, let's say there's armed guards at the door saying if you talk, if you go on your phone, if you make any noise, you're out. Then, do you think you would like it?
I don't think so, because all the other shit is still true. I still have to put on pants. I still have to be in a seat that's
I know, but
not
I just
comfortable for
can't
me.
say that you're a real movie lover if you value having to wear pants for 2 hours over seeing a movie the way that your favorite director wants you to see it.
I don't think it makes a difference.
Kind of rude, to be honest.
I don't think it makes a I'm seeing the
I thought
movie.
you're a true fan.
What
but...
difference does it make what kind of screen it's being played on? I see that's
Well, I've read multiple articles of directors saying, watch our movies in the cinemas. This is the way they're meant to be watched.
No, they want you to see the movies in the cinemas because they want the biggest box office, because they want to make the most money. They don't give a fuck.
That's not the only reason.
Yes.
That's such a pessimistic attitude. I'm sure that's part of the reason. It's not the only reason. Do you think fucking Martin Scorsese thinks about how much money his movies make? Maybe a little, but
Well, Martin Scorsese just put out a movie direct to Netflix.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't think
true,
Martin
The
Scorsese gives a flying fuck
Well-
if you're watching it in the theater at home.
maybe not him, but others. I think, yeah, I don't know. And didn't Quentin Tarantino recently did a movie on 32 millimeter or something like that? The Hateful Eight, that was shown in a few cinemas in the correct aspect ratio he wanted it to be screened in. Can't get that.
So that's a different story. If we're talking aspect ratio, that's a whole different topic of conversation, because I am all for watching films in the proper aspect ratio. Back before HD TVs were very common, or when they were new on the scene, I would constantly see people watching films, say on an HD TV, but they'd be watching the standard version of the film stretched out. It would like give me a brain aneurysm seeing that. And I'd be like, how can you watch a movie stretched to fill the screen of a widescreen TV? It just drives me nuts. So something like that, I am absolutely all for watching a film in the proper aspect ratio. But you don't have to go to a cinema to do that.
Okay, sure. Anything else? Go on. Because I'm honestly feeling I'm actually thinking I'm the winner in the ding 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 showdown. That's when that's going to come in. I think I'm kind of winning at the moment.
I think I've made very good points, and I think a lot of people are going to understand where I'm coming from, that people are assholes, pants are not ideal. At home, also, I can eat whatever the fuck I want at home. I could order a pizza at home.
Yeah, but you could get it and then smuggle it in.
No, how are you smuggling in a pizza?
I don't know if this is new to you, but girls do have handbags.
You're fitting an entire pizza in your handbag?
No, you have to put it in a Tupperware container, not the whole bloody box. And I'm not going to eat a whole pizza for one person in a movie anyway.
Well, I'm not just saying.
Actually, that's a lie, I would.
I'm saying, say if you went with a couple friends and then you were like, hey, let's bring a pizza. But yeah, I don't know. Like, that is my ideal, by the way, to be able to get a pizza and then just sit on the couch and inhale the entire pizza while watching the movie.
I mean, I would love to do that. I wish I didn't gain insane amounts of weight off junk food, but hey, you're not all winners. Anyway, well, we've had this discussion, ding ding showdown, and I think we both feel confident that we both know who has said all the best points, and we both know who is right.
Yeah, I think we do.
I think we both know. So what more can you ask for? Well, guys, what do you think? Are you like me and you prefer the classic magic of the cinema? Or are you a lazy slob that doesn't have any respect for the way movies are meant to be seen? Like Tommy, let us know.
I understand I'm not a slob. Just because I don't like wearing pants any more than I have to, that doesn't make me a slob.
Blah, blah.
Also, I will add, though, I'm not saying going to the movies is a completely undesirable thing. There are times where going to the movies is good. For instance, if you want to take out a chick and...
Oh, God.
It is...
Do you want to know something? Sorry to interrupt, but I've been on one movie date in my whole life, and it was not a vibe.
It was not a what?
It was not a vibe.
What does that mean?
Oh my God.
You millennials and your fucking weird things. Just tell me
What do
in
you think it might mean? It's not a vibe. Have a little think. What do you think that might mean?
I don't know if you're talking about the film or the person or both.
No, just going to the movies on a date
Mm.
for me is not a vibe. What do you think that means?
So you're saying going to the movies on a date is not something that is an enjoyable thing to you?
Yes, exactly.
Well,
Wow, well done. Congratulations.
well, again, you could have just said it like a normal human being instead of all this crazy
Mumbo jumbo. Yes.
crazy kid speak.
Anyway, I can think of anything worse than sitting next to someone you don't really know in silence for like 2 hours and like, oh, it honestly makes me shiver.
That's why it's wonderful, because you get to take the girl out and make her seem like you're taking her somewhere and you're doing something with her, but you really don't have to interact with her at all. You just get to watch the movie. So that's good.
Well, that's not the kind of date I want to be going on.
They always seem to actually go pretty well for me because I think I choose good movies. Like, I remember I brought one chick to see The Town with my man Ben Affleck. Have you ever seen that film?
Yeah, the one about the robbery.
It's a great fucking movie. And I took this chick to see it, and she had never even heard of it. And she was kind of just like, I haven't even heard of that movie. I'm like, no, trust me, this is gonna be fucking good. And on the way out, I could tell she was like a little bit turned on because she was like so impressed by my movie choice that she was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a really great movie. It had everything. I'm like, I know good movies. What could I say?
Okay, well, let me hit you with one of my stories. I went to the movies with a guy once, the one and only movie date I've ever had, and it was so awkward, and I just wasn't into him. I just wasn't interested. And like throughout the movie, like I kept feeling him like shift his weight to be like leaning towards me, like, you know, one of the preliminary steps to potentially like, I don't know, putting his hand on my shoulder or putting his hand on my leg or something like that. So whenever he made a preliminary shift, I made my own preliminary shift in the opposite direction. And then afterwards, I was just like, get me the fuck home. So.
Also, though, you're looking at that from the context of it was a guy you weren't into. If it was a guy you were into.
If it was a guy I was into, I'd prefer to just go on a normal date and go out and get drunk like normal people.
But what if that guy happened to have such great taste in movies and he brought you to a movie that you wouldn't have normally gone to see and you were so impressed by that movie choice?
Well, to be honest, I'm the movie fan. I'm the movie buff. I'm the one with the great taste. So I'm the one choosing the movie if I go to the movies, not having someone choose it for me. But in saying that, if someone jumped the gun and came in first and said, oh, well, why don't we see this? If it was a good movie choice, I would respect them a little more.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the This Movie Is podcast.
Yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this discussion on movie viewing preferences, and let us know what you think, what you prefer.
We hope everyone is staying safe out there. Can't get a virus if you just stay home and watch movies nonstop. And hey, Tommy, you must be cheering. There's really not much need for you to be wearing pants at the moment. Hey.
Yeah, that is pretty nice.
And nothing but delivery pizzas all day, every day. See you next time, guys, and happy watching.